So it's been a while since I made one of these videos because it's been a while since I've played on Xbox, but I recently came back to it, and I've made a lot of changes since the last one. Plus, behavior has updated some of the options. Well, why would you listen to me? I've been playing this game for 5 years now, or 6. It's been so long I've lost count. Too long. And probably 4 of those years, at least, were on Xbox. Let's just get right into it. This is the general screen. Beginner mode, turn that on if you're a beginner. I think it just gives you little tips. I'm not even really sure what it says. I don't think I've ever had it on. I just know it helps new players. So I would say, keep it on for a while and then turn it off once you think you got it. And then I don't even know what that is. So let's just move on. So in the accessibility screen, we're gonna start with blood web interaction behavior. If you have this on hold, I don't know what is wrong with you. You have to have this on press. There is no reason to ever have it on hold. I mean, if you really want to, you can. I just don't understand. What this means is when you're going through the blood web and you want to buy something, instead of holding it down to make your decision, you can just press it. Just exactly how it is on PC. You just click it and you have it. There's like thousands of blood webs that you'll go through in your time playing this game, so I don't know why you would ever want to hold down each button, but that's up to you. Heartbeat visual support, kind of just a preference thing, but I think for gameplay as well, it could actually benefit you. I have it on because some killer radiuses and some music has like a delay, or like the beginning of that soundtrack is like quiet, so you can't quite hear it. Having the heart icon on leaves no room for error, basically. Dialogue subtitles, I have this off. A lot of people have it on. I don't really care about dialogue subtitles. I don't care what the people are saying. It's not really what the game is about, so I have that off. It's kind of a theme with a lot of my settings, but I like to have everything only be there if it's absolutely necessary, and if it's not, I get rid of it, or I try to make it smaller. I like to make most of my screen just pure gameplay and the environment. Being able to see things off in the distance or things that are around you in your environment is very important, and getting rid of all of the distractions and all the things that could cover that are in your best interest. Colorblind mode, this is a whole video that I made. It's my most viewed video ever. It's the only way to brighten up your game on Xbox or PlayStation through the game. You can obviously get like a monitor that has those settings that you can brighten it, but if you don't have it, I really recommend you go watch that video. It's a little old now, so please don't make fun of me, but the information that I give is still 100% relevant. You could just copy what I have here, but this is my preference, and the reason that I chose this is because I do have a little tiny bit of this colorblindness tritopia. So that's just me personally. I like to have that on 100%. You go to that video and you watch it, and then you can decide which one you like the most and how much intensity you want. One thing I do want to say, in that video, I think it's pronounced deuteranopia, right? I was really hard on this colorblind setting, but I want to make it known that since then I have realized that this can be good in certain situations. If it's like a hatch situation and you want to be able to see really far away, or you need to be able to see through the fog, this colorblind setting can actually point out some of the important things to you that you wouldn't normally be able to see. So in certain situations, maybe you're looking for hatch, trying to see it from a distance, trying to see through the fog. For some reason, this kind of lets you see through the fog a little bit. Or if you're looking for Pinhead's box on the ground or something, you're just looking for something. This can actually help highlight those things, but I wouldn't say to keep it on all the time, but maybe you can, I don't know. Again, it's preference. It's completely up to you. Moving on to online. Crossplay, I always have this on. I'll turn it off every once in a while for fun, but it's never fun. The only thing that I find when I turn crossplay off is killers that have really high ping. They hit you from the other side of a window, and they tend to tunnel and camp more. And when I say they tend to, I would say probably most of them do on crossplay off, and most don't on crossplay on. It really makes the game probably 10 times less fun. The only thing that's good about it is killers that are on controller, if they haven't turned their sensitivity up, which I'll talk about soon, they actually have a slower turning radius, and so it's easier to 360 them. Gameplay privacy, I don't even think I'm going to go over this. If you're a YouTuber or a streamer, use these. If not, I don't think it matters. Graphics, I have the UI scale, in-game HUD scale, and the skill check scale. I have them all turned down. UI scale, I don't think you really need to turn that down. I don't really know why I turned that down. I think I just like it better. But the in-game HUD scale is back to that trend that I was talking about, where I like to have everything that isn't the pure gameplay and the pure environment around me. I like to have that be as less of a distraction as possible. So, for example, the list of survivors on the left side of the screen, the progress bar at the bottom of the screen, and even the skill checks themselves, I like to make them small enough that I can see my environment better, but big enough that I can still tell what's going on and be able to read the words and things like that. So I have it turned down to 80. I think default is 100. Player names visibility, again, that's just for YouTubers and streamers. I have that off. And then everything else is on. I don't know why you would ever turn any of this stuff off. All it's doing is helping you, so turning it off would be just confusing and harmful for no payout, no reason. Maybe if you want to turn off some of the achievements or some of the score events visibility, you can turn those off. I just don't really see the point. They don't really distract enough anyway. Audio, the first two, it depends on your setup. I have mine on 100 because I control my volume through my headphones. There's a little knob on my headphones I control through. And then if I want to mess with it a little bit, I'll turn down my actual computer volume. So I just don't even mess with these. And menu music, I mean, there's no reason to turn it off unless you're listening to other music in the background, which is fine. So that doesn't have anything to do with this video, really. Headphones, you have to wear headphones in this game or some sort of spatial audio something. There are killers in this game. For example, Ghostface and Michael. For Ghostface, you can hear, when he's in stealth mode, you can hear his cloak. And Michael, you can hear him breathing. Nemesis also has, I think, some perks that let him become undetectable, but you can hear his loud footsteps. So as long as you have audio, you can hear those things, but being able to like hear where they're coming from and where they are is really, really helpful. So that's what headphones are for. Headphones will give you that spatial audio and you'll hear, oh, he's coming from the right or he's coming from the left, he's behind me. So I would say they're not 100% necessary, but really, really, really recommended. Try to get headphones or at least like earbuds or something. Controls, I don't know why you'd ever turn this on, invert y-axis. There's no point. It's just strange and confusing. I think invert y-axis just makes it, I think, where when you push down on your right stick, it looks up, and when you push up, it goes down. So it's just the opposite. It's just confusing. I don't understand. I mean, I guess if you're used to it, but I don't know who would be. No other game is like that. Okay, sensitivity. This is probably what you all came here for. So in my last video, I was very adamant that 55% on Survivor was the best. And there was you shouldn't turn it up any higher. Well, you definitely shouldn't turn it up any lower, and I still believe that. I think the lowest you should ever consider going is 55. Unless you're like brand new to like holding a controller and you like need to get used to the sensitivity, that's fine. But there's no reason to ever go below 55% in my opinion. 55%, the reason that I was so adamant that it was so good was because it turns as fast as your character turns. So you can spin and keep your camera locked onto your character, which kind of let your 360s be a lot cleaner and smoother. And you could do an Ayrun tech, so it's like a fancy moonwalk. You could do that. I think you can still do it with higher sensitivity, but it was like 100 times easier with a slower sensitivity. But since then, I've turned it up to 100. Maybe it's just because of my PC brain, but there's something that's so nice about being able to flick back and forth between where you're going and looking at the killer. There's so many times, and I know we all have dealt with this, we're all Dead by Daylight players, where we're turned all the way around, we're watching the killer at all times to see where he's at, and then we end up running into like a rock or a wall, and we end up dying because we're not paying attention to where we're going. Well, PC players don't have this problem because they can be staring at the killer, they can really quickly flip forward to see where they're going to make sure they're not running into anything, and then flip back. That's kind of what 100% sensitivity lets me do, and even though it does take a hit to 360s, your camera kind of spins so fast that you don't really even move that much when you're 360ing. You still can, and I think you can enough that it's worth it. And being able to have that camera movement and looking back and forth like that is always good. I think it's kind of a preference. Again, it's a preference. I mean, I know for like for a while actually, for like maybe a year, I had it on like 75 or 80%. So it was like right down the middle, and then for a year I had like 55, and then for a little while I had 100. So I've gone back and forth on it. This is just where I'm at right now. I think 100% it's definitely a preference thing. But I think you should try everything. There's no reason not to. If you're at a low sensitivity and you want to get higher, I would say don't just jump straight to the high sensitivity. Spend like each day, raise it up by 5%, you know, just slowly, like a gradual change, and then see if you even notice the difference. If you're raising it so gradually that you don't even notice, and then before you know it, you're at 100. But I know when I was at 55, I tried to raise it up to 100, and it was unbelievable. It's like if you drive a car and you drive a car with really tight brakes, and then suddenly you drive one with really loose brakes, you're not used to it, so you have to you overcorrect and then you undercorrect, and it takes a while to get used to. So I think the better thing to do is to just gradually raise that. You're going to try to get your sensitivity a little bit higher. Interaction behavior, I have it on hold. Just preference. This is just the way that I've always had it. So I'm just used to that. You should probably experiment with toggle. There is definitely an argument to be made about that possibly being helpful. So I would say try it. See if you like it. Run to cancel, have that on. You should probably have that on. You don't want to get locked in an animation. And then if the killer comes up, you can't move. You want to be able to cancel your heal. If someone's healing you and they don't notice the killer coming up, but you do, you don't want to get locked in place there because they won't stop healing you. You want to be able to cancel them healing you so you can run. So make sure you have this on. This is very important. It's also funny because in my last video, I said for killer, you should have your sensitivity be at 100 to counter survivors 360ing you. And something that I noticed since then was every once in a while, I would miss survivors because it was so fast that I would flick to the side, and in that gap between where I was looking and where I just flicked to is where the survivor would be, but I would look so quickly that I would completely not even see them. I would flick right over them, and it just made tracking survivors a lot more difficult. So I found that 80% is the perfect middle ground. It lets you track survivors, and you don't lose them because you don't look over them or look past them really quickly, but at the same time you can still counter 360ing by turning fast enough to keep up with the survivor's movement. And then again, interaction behavior, I have that on hold. If you're going to change it to toggle, I think it would be less confusing if you change both of them to toggle or both of them to hold, rather than having one on one and one on the other. But if you're used to it being different, then that's up to you. For survivor controls, obviously forward, left, back, and right. I'm not even gonna look at that. Run has always been on left bumper. I actually really like it. I like how responsive the bumpers are on controllers. You don't really have to push down as far as you do with a trigger to get it to activate. A trigger is more like a lever. You kind of have to pull it a certain amount before it activates. A bumper is just a button. You just barely press that and you're already going. So being able to having that ability to immediately start running as soon as you hit that button is very useful, because milliseconds count in this game. But I have crouch on left trigger because I don't think it's as necessary. And I like having certain things on one side of the controller and certain things on the other side. For example, I have my movement on the left side, and then I have my interaction. You'll see that. My right trigger and my right bumper, I have those on the right side of my controller. So I difference it out based on which hand is doing what thing. Use item, I have that on right trigger, like I said. Drop item. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this. So B, X, A, and Y. I have an elite controller. That means that I have paddles on the back of my controller that I use my middle fingers and my ring fingers to press, that are bound to these 4 buttons. I don't even use these buttons. I only use the paddles. The reason that this exists is for example, when you're going to vault a window, but you need to see if, maybe you're on shack, for example, right? And you need to see if the killer is mind gaming you and is double backing to catch you at that window after that vault. You need to be able to see that. But if you're taking your thumb off the right stick so that you can hit the A button to vault, then suddenly you can't turn around to see what the killer's doing because your thumb isn't even on the stick anymore. So having the paddle means that your thumb gets to stay on that stick. So I really recommend elite controllers. They're kind of expensive, but if it's something that you can get, I would say do it. I think it's really useful. And it's not just useful for Dead by Daylight, it's useful for every game. For activate ability, right bumper, activate ability 2, I don't even think I've ever done that, to be honest. That's one of the new things, and I've never used activate ability 2. So I just kept it on default, which is down on the left stick. Activate event ability, never did that because I wasn't playing during the event, but that's down on the right stick. Wiggle right and wiggle left. I probably should put these both on the same bumper. It makes it easier, but I think it kind of makes the minigame a little more fun when you get to go back and forth, kind of left and right. I don't know. Camera movement, obviously. Point and follow me. I just have those on the defaults, which is just up and down on the D-pad. It's kind of the same idea. If I'm gesturing, I'm taking my thumb off the left stick. But if I'm gesturing, if I'm emoting, then I'm already not moving anyways. So why would I need my thumb to be on the left stick if I'm not moving? And that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I hope that was helpful for you. Copy some of these settings if you need to. And please like this video and subscribe. I make videos like this all the time, and I would really, really appreciate it if you'd like it. That's all I ask. It's completely free, and it takes like 1 second. Thank you guys. I love you. Goodbye.